If you drive I-95 or any major interstate in this country, the rules changed this year, and most drivers have no idea. I'm going to walk you through exactly what changed, why it changed, and what it means for your wallet, because some of these violations carry consequences that go far beyond the fine on the page. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because rules like this change every year and almost nobody explains what they actually mean for the person behind the wheel. Let's get into it. I-95 runs about 1,925 miles from Miami all the way to the Canadian border in Maine, cutting through 15 states and Washington, D.C. It's the busiest interstate in the country and, according to federal crash data, the most dangerous, averaging close to 284 deaths every year. That combination of heavy traffic and a high death toll is exactly why I-95 has become the test corridor for new enforcement technology in 2026. What gets piloted here tends to show up on highways everywhere else within a year or two. So even if you never set tires on I-95, the rules I'm about to walk you through are worth understanding because the same playbook is moving through state legislatures across the country right now. Let's start with what just happened in Delaware because the numbers are genuinely staggering. On May 23rd this year, Delaware's Department of Transportation activated a speed camera in the Churchman's Marsh work zone on northbound I-95 near Wilmington. This is part of a bridge rehabilitation project expected to stay active into mid-2027. There was a 3-week warning period before enforcement began, where drivers received notices but no fines. That grace period ended on May 23rd. Here's how the fine works. The posted limit in that work zone is 55 miles per hour. If you're caught going 11 miles per hour or more over that limit, meaning 66 or faster, you receive a base fine of $20 plus $1 for every mile per hour you were over the limit, plus additional state fees that roughly double the total. A driver caught at 66 miles per hour is looking at a fine north of $100. In just the first 3 days that camera was live, before the grace period had even fully expired, DelDOT recorded more than 10,000 vehicles going 11 miles per hour or more over the limit. 39 vehicles were caught going over 100 miles per hour. The single fastest vehicle recorded was doing 139 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. I want to be clear about something important here because it matters for how you think about this. These are civil citations issued to the registered owner of the vehicle, not criminal traffic tickets written by an officer. In Delaware specifically, this means the violation does not add points to your license and is not treated as a moving violation on your driving record. That's actually good news if you get caught. But it also means there's very little room to contest it because there's no officer, no traffic stop, and no conversation. The camera reads your plate, a reviewer confirms the violation, and the notice goes straight to whoever the vehicle is registered to, regardless of who was actually driving. This isn't new for Delaware. A similar camera near the Route 896 interchange on I-95 has been running since 2024 and has issued more than 400,000 violations while cutting average speeds in that zone by about 10%. The state is now expanding this approach, and other states, including Maryland, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and several others, have either launched or are piloting their own work zone camera programs. If you drive through a construction zone on a major highway anywhere on the East Coast this summer, assume there's a camera watching because the trend line is moving in exactly one direction. The second major change involves your phone, and this one is a genuine shift in how the law treats handheld devices. Pennsylvania's Paul Miller's Law, named for a 21-year-old killed by a distracted driver in 2010, has technically been on the books since June 2025. But for the first year, police could only issue written warnings. That grace period ended on June 5th of this year. Starting now, holding a handheld phone while driving in Pennsylvania is a primary offense, which means an officer can pull you over for that alone with no other violation required. The fine is $50. But once you add court costs and fees, the real number typically lands between $125 and $200. Here's the detail that catches people off guard. The law defines driving to include any time your vehicle is temporarily stopped because of a traffic light, a stop sign, or traffic congestion. That means sitting at a red light on I-95 in Philadelphia and glancing at a text message is a ticketable offense under this law. For non-commercial drivers, this violation does not add points and is not automatically reported as a surcharge-triggering event the way some serious moving violations are. But insurers do see citations when they pull your record at renewal, and several have stated publicly that they treat handheld device citations as a risk signal, which can affect your premium even without points attached. Pennsylvania now joins a growing list of states including Florida, Ohio, California, New York, and New Jersey, where this kind of enforcement is a primary offense rather than something an officer can only add on after pulling you over for something else. The third change is about the move-over law, and this is the one where I think the most drivers genuinely believe they already know the rule, when in fact the rule has quietly expanded underneath them. Every state has required drivers to slow down or change lanes for stopped emergency vehicles for years. What's changing right now, state by state, is who else that protection covers. California's expanded version took effect January 1st of this year and now requires drivers to slow down or move over for any stopped vehicle displaying hazard lights, flares, or warning triangles, not just police cars and tow trucks. That includes an ordinary driver who pulled onto the shoulder with a flat tire. Florida made a similar change back in January 2025. New Jersey has a bill working through its legislature right now that would do the same thing, and similar proposals are moving through state houses in Ohio, Wisconsin, and several other states as we speak. So if your state hasn't already made this change, there's a real chance it will within the next year. The specific legal requirement in most of these states is not just slow down a little. Many states specify an exact number, often 20 miles per hour below the posted limit or a fixed reduced speed if you cannot safely change lanes. Simply tapping the brakes is not enough to meet that legal standard in most jurisdictions. Fines for a move-over violation typically run from $150 to $500 for a first offense, and in several states, a violation that results in a crash carries a mandatory license suspension on top of the fine. The fourth piece of this is newer and harder to plan around because it removes the one strategy a lot of experienced drivers rely on without even thinking about it. It's called average speed enforcement, sometimes referred to as point-to-point enforcement, and several states are beginning to pilot it in 2026. Instead of one camera at a fixed location, this system uses two cameras, one at the start of a stretch of road and one at the end. It records the time your plate passes each one, calculates your average speed across that entire distance, and issues a citation if that average exceeds the limit. The reason this matters is simple. Slowing down right as you pass a camera does nothing if the system isn't measuring you at that single point. It's measuring your average across miles. There's no spot to ease off for and then speed back up. This technology has been used for years in parts of Europe with measurable safety improvements, and it's now beginning to show up in pilot form in parts of the United States. Exactly which highways and which states roll this out first is still developing, so I'd treat any specific claim about a specific stretch of I-95 with caution right now. But the direction is clear, and it's worth knowing this technology exists before you encounter it for the first time with no warning. The fifth change doesn't happen at the roadside at all. It happens the moment a police officer runs your plate. More and more states are connecting directly to insurance company databases in real time, which means an officer can confirm whether your policy is active before they even reach your window without you handing over a card or pulling up an app. States like Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Michigan, and Mississippi have had systems like this running for a while, and more states are adding similar real-time verification every year. The practical effect is this: a coverage gap that used to slip by unnoticed, a payment that was a day late, an auto-renewal that silently failed, can now be flagged the instant an officer checks your plate, whether you're at a traffic stop or just passing through a camera-monitored zone. That's not a one-time fine. In most states, a lapse like that becomes a black mark that follows your insurance record and can affect your rates for years afterwards. So here's the complete picture, and I want to leave you with the practical version of all of this rather than just the list. Speed cameras in active highway work zones are expanding fast, and they no longer come with the grace period drivers have gotten used to. Handheld phone laws are shifting from secondary to primary offenses across more states every year, and that includes moments when your car isn't even moving. Move-over laws are quietly expanding to cover any disabled vehicle with hazard lights, not just emergency responders, and most drivers don't know the specific speed reduction their state actually requires. Average speed enforcement is beginning to remove the slowdown for the camera strategy entirely, and real-time insurance verification means a lapse in coverage is no longer something you can quietly fix before anyone notices. None of this is designed to scare you away from driving. It's designed to make sure you're not the person who finds out about a rule change by opening an envelope. The fastest thing you can do this week is check your state DOT website for any updates to your local move-over law. Make sure your phone is genuinely hands-free in the car, and confirm your insurance is active and up to date before you head out on a long trip this summer. If you found this useful, send it to someone you know who drives I-95 regularly or who's planning a road trip this season. One share could save them a fine they never saw coming. I'll see you in the next one.